Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Omar Wilson. I wanted to talk a little bit today about tornado sirens, their use, because I've gotten some questions about sirens and how they're used and how cities use them. So I just want to spend a chunk of time explaining what tornado sirens are and how municipalities use them. So first things first, what is a tornado siren? A tornado siren is actually a term that is referred to as what's called an outdoor warning signal. And what that is, it is a device that is used to warn people outdoors of severe weather. That is the use that they have now in 2025. Now let's talk about the different types of tornado sirens. It's really two main types. You have the modern tornado siren, which is more like an electronic speaker. Then you have the old school air raid system. So let's talk about the modern tornado siren. So for a second, the modern tornado siren is an outdoor warning signal that it's a device that is placed on top of a pole that has a battery. It's basically a giant speaker, for the lack of better words. And what they do is they broadcast a loud, deep pitched tone. Some have higher pitched tones that are used to alarm people of dangerous weather coming their way. Now, your old school air raid sirens, they have compressors. They have built-in air compressors, and what they do is those compressors suck in air, it blows it out through a tube, and inside of that tube there's a blade. There's a what you call a chopper. Think of it as a some type of blade, that's inside of a fan. Now, when this blade spins at a very high rate through that air that's blowing out through this tube, it generates a sound. The faster that blade spins through that air, the higher pitched the tone is. And that's how your traditional air raid siren works. And air raid systems were made back in the war days when it's to alert the public of terrorist attacks, a civil war, that type of thing. Then they started using them to alert the public on tsunamis, giant waves. Your coastal communities will have them to alert the public when there's a tsunami coming. You have places like Hawaii, coastal places around the world that have air raid sirens that'll alert the public whenever there is a giant wave coming. More lately, tornado sirens are known across the entire world for tornadoes, severe weather. So, hence the term tornado siren. But here in the modern times, we've gone away from the old school air raid siren because they're expensive and they're expensive to maintain, and they're expensive to operate. And your more modern speaker-based electronic sirens are cheaper to purchase, they're cheaper to maintain, and they're cheaper to operate. And so you can see why a new and upcoming city, a growing municipality with a bright future, would want to go with a cheaper siren that is just as effective as the more old school air raid system. Now let's talk about, just for the sake of this video, we're just going to talk about where I live, how the city that I live uses them. So I live in Little Rock, well, North Little Rock, but I used to live in Little Rock. And so the city of Little Rock has a system of 58 tornado sirens. And they're not referred to as tornado sirens within the emergency management community. They're referred to as outdoor warning sirens, or outdoor warning system is what they call them. That's actually what they are, because the purpose of an outdoor warning siren is to warn people outdoors that are outside, that are in parks, or walking downtown and stuff like that. It's to warn those people that are outdoors that there's bad weather coming. Hey, you need to get indoors and take cover. That is what sirens are designed for. That's what they're built for, and so they're built with this in mind. And now, you're here in the modern times, cities tend to prefer your traditional, not your traditional, your modern outdoor warning siren, because they have capabilities that your traditional air raid system just don't have. Air raid systems can be battery backup can be added to air raid systems, but they weren't initially built to have battery backup. And what that is when the lights go out, lightning knocks out the power, wind or whatever, or the tornado knocks out the power, the siren can still operate off of battery instead of actual electricity. That's what's referred to as battery backup. And because the siren's primary source of power is electricity, but when the lights go out, that battery kicks on automatically and the siren never shuts off. And so it'll shut down in increments, but it doesn't, the power outage doesn't affect the performance of the system. And so your modern sirens have that built in. Traditional air raid systems has to have that added to them, which adds cost. And so and the other advantages of having a modern outdoor warning system is they are speakers, so they can broadcast messages. So they have an active PA system, so you can talk on them. Or what you can do is they have pre-recorded messages where they will broadcast a message. So you can alert the public as well as educate the public at the same time in real time. That is a tremendous capability, especially in broad daylight or in the evening time at 5 o'clock during rush hour when people are outside the most and there's bad weather coming. You got people in the park. They hear a siren, you can broadcast a message to them to let them know what that signal is, what it means, and what they need to do. So that is an enormous capability for a system. Traditional air raid sirens, just by design, don't have that capability. So that's one reason why you would want them. Another reason why you would want them is because, as I said before, they're cheaper. Your traditional outdoor warning system per unit is way more than your modern system. So I'll put it to you this way. Your modern system, I'm not going to get into brands and specs and all that stuff. We're just going to go for a basic, just what the city of Little Rock have. Those units are approximately $30,000 per unit, right? So that's a three-piece unit, just the speaker and the pole and the battery pack, 30 grand, and that's per unit. And so now there's other things that you can get added to it, like your solar panel, you name it. You can get other things added to it, but just bare bones base, it's about 30 grand per unit. Now our traditional air raid unit would cost double that. And so it does come down to a cost thing, just because of functionality, resources used, the weight of the system, and the location, the amount of them you'll need. It's a package. And the modern system is just more economical per package than your traditional system. But the advantage to having a traditional system is they will have a little bit more power. You will get better performance out of them because of how they're built and how they're designed. People will hear them for further distances. So your traditional system is better for a country setting. A semi-rural setting where there's, people are kind of scattered out. There's not a lot of people compacted in a tight area. A traditional system would work better for that because the sound spreads out and the sound broadcasts a lot further than your than your modern system, your modern speaker system anyways. Now, let's talk about the city of Little Rock. So like I said, the city of Little Rock has 58 of them. Now, the way they're set up across the city is you will have, let's say you have a street corner. You have two streets that meet, and so you have an intersection. Let's say that there is a tornado siren right on this intersection. The modern speakers, they can be heard in a 360-degree radius around the entire siren. That's for the omnidirectional units. They do have some rotating speakers that do rotate, do a 360 sweep. But your traditional omnidirectional, meaning all directional units, they have speaker cells set up all 360, so you can hear them all the way around the unit. And so in a 360-degree radius from where that unit is in that intersection, there is one siren 1 mile away in any given direction. And the city of Little Rock has this web of sirens that's placed 1 mile apart across the entire city, from edge to edge, from border to border, north, south, east, west, whatever. Southwest, east, northwest, whatever. There is a web of siren coverage in terms of sound. Now, the units that may be spaced a little bit further in distance are in the areas of the city where there's not a lot of people. So that the nearest siren to that area will cover that. Now, cities that utilize your traditional air raid sirens, they typically try to have them spaced 1 mile apart. Depending on how big the city is, will determine how many units they have. The city of Little Rock, for its size, they decided that they needed 58 of them. Some cities might have more, some cities might have less. It just depends on the size of the city and how populated it is. Now, for traditional systems, cities that run those traditional sirens, they might have more or less depending on how much money they have to spend. As I said before, your traditional siren, your traditional air raid system costs a lot more, so they will have to spend more to have more coverage. But they won't need as many as the newer electronic sirens because the air raid sirens broadcast further because they have more performance. Just because of how they're designed. It's not saying one is better than the other because the newer electronic modern sirens have things that the old ones don't. It's a give and it's a take, but the old ones just have more performance just because of how they're designed and because of how they work. It's not really a performance thing, particularly. Let me answer this question because people do ask this. Why do they have to be spaced 1 mile apart? The best way that you can hear them is within that 1 mile radius. You have to take into account how loud thunderstorms are. Thunderstorms are very loud. You have the sound of the rain hitting the ground, especially if it's very heavy rain. You have the size of hail hitting the ground. If it's a lot of hail, the hail hits the ground, makes noise. It hits the house, the cars make noise, and all of that's very noisy. Then you add in constant thunder and constant cracks of thunder from lightning, because in tornadoes and in tornadic thunderstorms you have constant lightning. And so you have constant thunder. Storms are just loud. And so you have to be able, people outside need to be able to hear that over the storm. And so the best distance, you can hear that when you take into account all of that noise in a storm, those sirens start to become less effective when you go distance greater than a mile. That's why they base this off of 1 mile. And so, they try to use the same philosophy with your traditional air raid system, but they are a lot louder, just like I said, because of how they're designed. So you can hear them a lot better in loud storms. So let's talk about how cities use them. Well, different cities have different philosophies when it comes to when to sound them. This is the number one question that I get. So let's talk about who sounds them. Different cities, different municipalities leave the control of the outdoor warning system in different people's hands. So the city of Little Rock leaves that to the Little Rock Police Department. So 911 communications are the ones that actually are responsible for testing the system, operating the system, and sounding the system during severe weather. They're in constant communication with the National Weather Service. Whenever bad weather is in the forecast, they are in nonstop communication with the National Weather Service. They talk to them around the clock, get constant updates, what's coming, where it's at, how bad is it, how bad do you think it's going to be, what do we need to tell our people. They're in constant communication. And so they know down to a T when a tornado warning is coming. They do not sound the system for severe thunderstorm warnings. They only sound the system for tornado warnings. And that is so that people don't get confused on what it's going off for. Now, only other thing those sirens will go off for is a weekly test on Wednesdays at noon to test the functionality of the system and to make sure that it is performing the way it's supposed to perform, because like I said, there's 58 of them. Some sirens will sound, some might go out, some might burn out, some might not get a signal. They need to address all those different issues so they can minimize the risk of a siren failing during bad weather. So they do that noon test on Wednesdays. That is weather permitting. If there is anything past overcast, they will not sound that system. And they do that so that people don't mistake the test for an actual weather event. And so if it's bright, sunny, they will sound the system. If it's overcast, if it's more than 50% coverage, they will not sound the system. And so this is the way the city of Little Rock works. So the way they work in an actual weather event is they will only sound the system if there is a storm that has a tornado warning active on it that has crossed into the city, that has actually come into the city of Little Rock. That is when they will initiate the system. And they will sound the system until that storm leaves the city limits. They don't care about the county. They don't care if it's way off in the boondocks. As long as it's not in the city, they will not sound the system. They only sound the system for storms that are actively affecting the city of Little Rock. Now, the city of North Little Rock is different. They have a combination of traditional air raid sirens and electronic modern sirens. So, and the city of Little Rock do not do broadcast tones. They only do actual alert tones, meaning the sirens in the city of Little Rock do not talk. They have that capability. They have the pre-recorded messages and all the other capabilities that modern systems have. They just don't use it. The city of North Little Rock uses theirs. So they will, if it's a test, they will use the test message. If it is an actual tornado warning, they will use the tornado warning message. City of North Little Rock uses their system differently. And that's just an example of how municipalities differ and how they decide to utilize the system. Now, North Little Rock will sound their sirens if there is an active tornado warning in the county or the city. They do not care which one. If there is a storm in the county that has a tornado warning, they want you to know about it. So they're going to sound that siren. The same for the Pulaski County area. So the county that both Little Rock and North Little Rock are located in, they have their own siren system because the county goes beyond the cities. So there are people that live in the county that don't live in an actual city. They just live out in the county. So they need warning as well. Now, Pulaski County have traditional air raid sirens because they need the sound to go further because people are more scattered. You don't have people compacted in tight areas. They need that sound to go further. So they use traditional air raid systems that they do have battery backup. They have add-on packages that come with battery backup. And like I said before, traditional air raid sirens cannot have the talk feature, so they just have alert tones. And so the Pulaski County, the actual county, they have their own system, and their system is in the hands of the Pulaski County Emergency Management, the people that are over emergency actions for the actual county. Now, they sound their system, same thing as North Little Rock. Anytime there is a tornado warning storm that enters the county or any city inside of the county, they will sound their system. So you'll hear sirens more. If you're in the county or if you're in North Little Rock, you'll hear sirens a little bit more. Neither entity sound their system for severe thunderstorm warnings because they do not want people to get desensitized to that sound. They want you to act. When you hear that sound, you know it's something bad. Because if people hear that sound all the time, then they're like, all right, well, this is probably nothing. They don't want people to think that. So, now, North Little Rock and Pulaski County also test their sirens on Wednesdays at noon. That is a statewide thing. If you have a storm that did not move into the city of Little Rock, well, they're not going to sound their sirens. But Pulaski County will because it's still in the county, and they're going to sound their sirens. Countywide, I don't care what part of the county that storm is in, the siren system for the entire county will go off. The sirens are not separated in terms of what areas or whatever within one system. So if there is a storm in the north side of the county, the sirens across the entire county will go off. Little Rock might not sound theirs, but Pulaski County will sound theirs because they are thinking about the people that are outside of Little Rock. North Little Rock, they're on the same thing as the county. Even if the tornado is not in North Little Rock, you might hear those sirens go off because they want you to be aware that, hey, at least there is a storm in this county. You need to know about it. And so that's kind of the different philosophies and how different municipalities act with their systems. But the functionality of sirens are all the same, and the purpose of them are all the same. Now, they might differ from brand to brand and what tone and all of this crap and how loud one is over the other. Those differ, but the principle doesn't change. And yeah, that's about it. So if there's anything else, any other questions, please comment on this video. Let me know, and I will get those addressed. Thank you guys for your time.